Now we get down to business. And all of you know that the well-muscled arms of Pennsylvania's working men and women really built this nation. And in order to build this nation, energy has been at the apex of the critical components of building this country. And we have today two true experts on energy development. First, Nick DeIuliis. All of you know Nick as the CEO of CNX Resources, one of the nation's leading energy producers, and Sean Steffi, who is the head of the Boilermakers Local 154, the largest Boilermakers union in the country. And I'm going to let him tell you about the politics of the Boilermakers union these days, but I think you already know. But I just want to lead off for both of you by asking about what has happened in Pennsylvania over the course of the past 15 or so years and the development of natural gas safely and responsibly, and what that has meant to the nation, to our local economy, and most important, to local jobs. And Nick, I'll let you lead, and then Sean, it's all yours.
Yeah, thanks, Charlie. Hi, everybody. It's the greatest story that's either never been told or has been basically clouded over. And if you talk about disruptive technology and American ingenuity and the work ethic of this region, it has fundamentally changed things, not just for Western PA, but for the world over. And that's the natural gas revolution. It's drastically increased the supply of a vital thing for society the world over, and it's drastically reduced the cost. And that's had fundamental change for so many different segments of our economies and for the quality of life of our people. A big part of that is the middle class and how that's been the lifeblood of this region, which built this country. That's seen a resurgence because of these things in the middle class with truly family-sustaining jobs. And a big part of that are the Boilermakers and the other building trades, and I'll let Sean talk a little bit about how that's impacted what's going on with the union halls and the union roles.
Okay, as Boilermakers, we build a lot of gas-fired power plants now since natural gas has come upon us, and we also play a large role in the petrochemical plants, which has meant a lot of employment for us. And moving forward as Boilermakers and the rest of the building trades, we just want to take energy to the next level with technology, environmentally friendly, and building the next engineering marvels that could come with natural gas. And as you all know, natural gas could possibly make Pennsylvania the energy hub of the Northeast. And yes, and I would just like for everyone out here, especially in Washington County, Western Pennsylvania, tell me what solar and wind has done and the ripple effect and the jobs, because I don't see any. I'm from Western Pennsylvania. I see gas, coal, and energy, and we need to move it forward.
You know, Charlie, Sean brings up another awesome sort of thing that's going on and been going on for a number of years. The working men and women of this region, they're getting up every day, Saturdays included, they're going to work. They're basically manufacturing the methane molecule, natural gas. And that molecule is then building other manufacturing facilities like the petrochemical complex and the cracker facilities that we're seeing, the first one being built out in Beaver. And it's also creating polyethylene that every component of society uses, from cars to clothes. We're surrounded by polyethylene. And then that methane molecule, if it's not ending up, or the ethane's not ending up at the cracker, it's going through a pipeline to a power plant in this country, or in some instances, it's being liquefied and sent overseas because it basically has broken OPEC's back. That's all happening right here with the working men and women of Western Pennsylvania. It's an unbelievable story.
Nick, tell us, if you would, and feel free to chime in, Sean, just exactly what the cracker facility is, what it does, how many jobs are there in the construction phase, how many jobs will be there after it's operational, how big of an investment it is, et cetera. I mean, I think it's important for people to be able to take from here a really deep understanding of what that all means, because if Joe Biden has his way, we're not going to be doing that anymore.
Yeah, the cracker petrochemical facility opportunity is pretty simple. It's a manufacturing plant. and it manufactures polyethylene. And why is it here? Well, Sean's wife's in real estate. I don't know much about real estate, but he told me it's location, location, location. First reason it's here, it sits literally right on top of the world's biggest supply, lowest cost source of ethane in the world. That's a really important thing on the economics of the petrochemical factory itself. Two, you draw a 700-mile radius around Western PA, it sits within the biggest demand center for polyethylene that you'll see in the world. So from the market perspective and from the supply perspective, it makes all the sense in the world to build one here, and I believe we're going to see at least 1 to 2 more in this region of Eastern Ohio, Northern West Virginia, Western PA.
For us, I see the ripple effect from like a petrochemical plant moving to manufacturing jobs. If we all understand that, like just take your medical supplies, all your PPE, masks, IVs, ventilators, everything comes from petrochemicals. And the one thing that I really is interesting that nobody ever talks about is you keep hearing clean energy, renewables. Well, renewable energies cannot even exist without fossil fuels, okay? Windmills, 900 tons of steel, 2,500 tons of cement, 45 tons of petrochemical lubricants and carbon fibers. Same with your solar panels. So we've got to move forward, and we can move forward in manufacturing, which that creates energy-intensive industries like the power plants that we help build, and that creates jobs. Good, blue-collar, family-sustaining union jobs that build these facilities.
Now, Sean brings up another point, too. I just want everybody to understand, there's no thing such as a perpetual motion machine. There's no such thing as the fountain of youth. And there is no such thing as zero carbon energy. All energy has a carbon footprint. And when you look at the carbon intensity of natural gas-fired generation in this region, and you stack it up against what you'd have to do on something like wind to replicate that, the carbon benefits in terms of who the winner is clearly natural gas extracted, manufactured, and utilized to generate electricity in this region by the working men and women that surround us.
Let me come back to a very, very important issue. And Sean, I know that you understand one 4-letter word better than anybody, and that is J-O-B-S. And that's not no BS, that's J-O-B-S. But what was the job situation before the development of the Marcellus Shale gas field, and what is it now for the folks in your union?
Well, we were definitely on a decline, as we know, coal-fired generation. The war has been, brought on against that. And then we've had the petrochemical plants that's come to Monaca. But let's just take that plant there. You're looking at 5,000 to 6,000 construction jobs. Okay, great paying, family-sustaining jobs with skilled blue-collar union workers. And then you have our gas-fired power plants. You're looking at probably 500, 600. But the great thing is, how about the ripple effect for the communities in which these plants are built at? Your local stores, convenience stores, and people living and getting gas and everything else, and your hardware stores, everything, there's a giant ripple effect to that. And we need to keep moving forward, and we need a commitment, and that's why the Boilermakers have chosen to endorse Donald Trump, because he understands energy. He understands that we need to move energy into the future and the technology into the future. Joe Biden has flip-flopped so many times on energy that we're done with it. We're done. We're not flip-flopping. We're not riding the fence. We're not riding with Joe Biden. We're getting on the Trump train, and it's energy.
All right. Sean, I just want to pursue that for 1 second before I give the floor back to you two experts, because I think the politics of this is important. My guess is that you are not a lifelong Republican.
No, I'm a 35-year Democrat.
And you have not voted for Republican candidates for president in the past, and your union hasn't endorsed Republican candidates for president in the past.
No, we haven't.
So Donald J. Trump is the first.
Donald J. Trump is the first. My business manager, John Hughes, has endorsed Donald J. Trump for president, and we're proud to do it.
And there is a serious transformational aspect to all of that I want to get into in just a minute. But first, I want to go right to the heart of this issue. Because Joe Biden said about fracking, quote unquote, we will end it. Now, he's not saying, oh, I'm not for a ban. But Kamala Harris clearly said, I want a ban on fracking. And the state Democrat Party here in Pennsylvania is still on record. In fairness, despite the opposition of Rick Bloomingdale and the AFL-CIO, despite the opposition of Ed Rendell and some other Democrats, the state Democrat Party here voted for a resolution to have a moratorium on fracking in Pennsylvania. What would be the effect if Kamala Harris and the Pennsylvania Democrats had their way?
Well, first thing to understand, of course, is there's many ways to ban or kill something. There's the outright ban, where I'm not going to allow fracking, and that flip-flop has occurred numerous times, and we're all aware of that with Biden. But you can also kill an opportunity many different ways. You can make it impossible or take forever to build a pipeline to take that product to all the other market centers that are demanding and clamoring for it. You can add on dozens and dozens of regulations that make it cost prohibitive or time prohibitive to get at that activity efficiently and economically. You can create special protected markets for things like wind or solar that deny the opportunity in the free market for natural gas. So there's many different ways that you can effectively ban something without being officially or unofficially for a fracking ban.
Sean, what would happen if we had a ban on fracking?
You would see a serious loss of jobs. The ripple effect would be devastating. Just like we spoke earlier, you know, the drilling and the fracking, you know, we don't have anything to do with that as a Boilermaker, but it's the down the road at the pipeline. The pipeline reached to the gas-fired power plant, to the petrochemical plant, them jobs will be gone, okay? And the biggest misconception that I hear so many far left in my party, and they all want to be fossil fuel free. Well, I would like them to take this one day of their life and see what revolved around a fossil fuel, from their phone to their iPads, to their vehicles, to the clothes they're wearing, to the Starbucks coffee they're drinking. That wouldn't exist. And then tell me what you're willing to give up. And I tell you what, they'll be saying, ban what? What are we banning? They ain't banning anything. And the kids give their Xboxes, PlayStations away. It's not happening. So let's face reality. Let's do it environmentally friendly. Let's move forward in the future. Let's embrace energy, natural gas, and for me, coal also. And let's move forward and create jobs. Good paying jobs.
And as you know, Pennsylvania is at the forefront of energy development in the United States these days, and the United States has moved into the #1 producer of oil and natural gas in the world. So how is it possible that we have Russian gas coming into Boston because they can't take Pennsylvania natural gas there because they won't allow pipelines to be built across a couple of those blue states?
And that's the reality that we're dealing with. So when you look at that, how did it happen? It happened by design. That's exactly what they intended to do. And if you think about that policy and how backward it is, you're basically denying this region to thrive with respect to the economic engine that drives it, to make the economic engine that runs a Boston or an East Coast thrive. And you're doing it to the benefit of a despot in Russia that apparently neither party seems to be a champion of or a proponent of for obvious reasons. It's all backward. That's what happens when you get government involved in things. I mean, let's face it, we struggled through a pandemic with government. We struggle with budgets with government. We struggle with education with government. We can't get a good DMV experience when you go to get your license with government, but they're gonna fix and figure out energy policy for us instead of letting the free market and the men and women who work in that market to figure it out each and every day.
Sean, tell us about the importance of those pipelines.
Well, I would just like to speak of our own governor, Governor Wolf, that wants to join the Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative. He wants to join a multi-state initiative with New York and New England where they're bringing the Russian gas in, won't let our pipelines go in there moving forward. You want to talk about Russian collusion? Russian gas in Massachusetts is Russian collusion. Right now, we need to use our gas and start utilizing what we have in our own state and bring the jobs here, great jobs, and that's the future if we embrace it.
Absolutely, and I'm so glad that you got to they call it RGGI, but it's the Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative that Governor Wolf, like he does with so many other things, doesn't want the legislature, the elected representatives of the people, to have a voice in, because in his judgment, is the only voice that counts. Nick, I know that you've written about the several immutable truths about energy development here in the United States. Can you tell us about just a couple of them? And then, Sean, I'd like you to react to what Nick says.
Yeah, I think when you look at PA, we're right in the middle, in the epicenter of that very issue and how it drives not just our economy, but the nation's economy. You know, Pennsylvania, I've heard the political pundits say it's Pittsburgh and Philly on each end with a big T in the middle. I don't think it's that way. I think what it is, it's a state that consists of a certain small number of elites that are very influential. And what does an elite mean? Somebody that's going to dictate to the individual, to you and me, what opportunities we're going to have and what opportunities we're not going to have. And they want to be like a New York City. They want to be like a coastal California. And then on the other side, you've got all these awesome doers in this state. Okay, a lot of them wear hard hats, a lot of them are in the audience, a lot of them wear suits and ties. They're doers. And we're net contributors, not just to our little corner of the world, but to society. And when you look at energy policy and energy truths, natural gas-fired generation, pipeline industry, petrochemicals, exporting natural gas, those are the things that drive quality of life. They drive strategic advantages for nations, and they redraw the geopolitical map of the world. It's all happening right here. Why would we ever do something that would consciously suffocate that and forego that opportunity for a whole bunch of people beyond Pennsylvanians?
Sean?
For me, energy independence, if you think about it, you know, I'm going to give you a good for instance. I testified, and I had a woman, her name was Michelle Bloodworth, and she was telling us how China, India, Vietnam, Japan were all building from 21 to 25, we're on the books to build 500 power plants. And if you think about it, you know, they're saying these third world countries need the electricity. Well, China sure in the hell ain't a third world country. They're a manufacturing powerhouse, and they need those power plants to fuel the energy, cheap resources to have the manufacturing. We have it right here in Western Pennsylvania. We could be bringing them jobs back. All these things, the medical supplies, the manufacturing, it should be getting stamped made in the USA. We have the capabilities right here. That's where we should be building it. That creates power plants and energy-intensive industries, and that's where I come in as a Boilermaker, and we want to build it, but let's do it environmentally friendly. We have the best regulations in the world. Why have China and the rest of them do it with no regulations? We can do it right here.
And I think all of you get a sense of the courage of these two men. First of all, corporate CEOs tend to be risk averse. They don't like to speak out on things that are quote unquote political, but Nick DeIuliis does. Sean Steffi comes from organized labor. They haven't traditionally been willing to say, we'll support a Republican for president, but he and his union did. So I want you to thank them for their courage, for their leadership, and for the message that they bring here today.
Thank you.
And since I led us down the political path, I want to give you both an opportunity to address the politics of energy development and what you see the politics of 2020 bringing to bear on job creation, a better economy, lower fuel costs for individual consumers, and a better way of life for every American.
For me, it's real simple, Charlie. I lived my entire life here. I've lived within a 5-mile radius my entire life by choice. And I think about this election and energy and the politics associated with it. I think of two types of people. There's a kid in inner city Pittsburgh in an economically non-inclusive area, and there's a kid in rural Greene County that's just as economically challenged with respect to their prospects. This industry and the policies that go with it, along with this election, gives both those kids a chance coming right out of high school to jump into a family-sustaining job, to get trained under the best type of tutorship and leadership you can to get a true craft and a true skill, get into the industry, get a great job, start a family, stay in this region, maybe go get a 2 years associate's degree, which will probably be paid for by the person or the company they're working for, maybe get a 4-year degree, and before you know it, that individual, their family, and their kids, they don't just get into the middle class, they run right through it. That's what it's about for me.
For me, grew up all my life in rural Pennsylvania. I'm actually from Indiana, Pennsylvania. And I want to see energy move forward, and I want to see great family-sustaining jobs come to our rural communities and give the men and women a chance to go to work and earn a great job and move our school districts forward with a great tax base. And the Green New Deal is no deal for the Boilermakers or Pennsylvania.
And I just want to follow up, Sean, because you've used the phrase, and so has Nick, family-sustaining jobs. Tell me what a welder is making right out of trade school.
Our apprentices they get and graduate and are currently working, if they're like at a facility like the cracker plant, they're making $80,000 a year. Our journeymen are making upwards of $100,000 a year. And if the renewable industry can match that as a solar panel technician, I'll throw my weld lead down right now and grab a squeegee.
All right, final round here before we move on. And do you get excited about the fact that on this stage is corporate America and the organized labor movement in this country? And two great leaders, exactly, two great leaders from both sectors who understand what it takes to create jobs, to create wealth, to create opportunity, and to create a better future for everybody. So let's talk about the antithesis of that and the Green New Deal.
Green New Deal, again, when you look at it from just the perspective of science and engineering and people that do things for a living, when you hit the switch, you want the lights to come on, you want your furnace to work. The Green New Deal is just fundamentally flawed. Forget about the economics. It won't work. It violates the laws of thermodynamics. You cannot have 100% renewable energy. You cannot have, there is no such thing as zero carbon energy. Every aspect, component of energy has a carbon footprint. Carbon is the lifeblood of society. It's not a bad thing. It's something that we need to embrace. The more a society or a country or a region gets of carbon utilization, life expectancy goes up, infant mortality rate goes down, education goes up, all kinds of good things that really smart people try to solve the world over. I think we've got the answer. It's called the methane molecule. Let's unleash it efficiently, safely, environmentally sound, and let's take full advantage of it. Again, not just for ourselves and not just for this country, but a whole bunch of people the world over that are living in abject poverty, and the sooner we get them carbon-derived electricity, the better off their lives are going to be.
Here, here.
I totally agree with Nick's philosophy there. The Green New Deal is just fundamentally wrong and untruthful, okay? It's just something that cannot happen. For us to sustain ourselves as a world power economically and energy-wise, the Green New Deal cannot happen. We have to move forward with energy and natural gas like Nick has spoken about, and do it environmentally safe also. We have the technology to do that. We have great minds in this country and right here in Western Pennsylvania. So let's move forward, let's build the stuff, and let's put everybody to work, and let's keep our economy growing, and the Green New Deal is not the answer. It's got to have carbon in the future, and let's face it, everything has some kind of environmental downfall to it, okay? But it's how we handle it and how we move forward and keep moving with technology to make it better. And there's not one person here that doesn't like the outdoors more than I do. And I want to keep that, and I want to have our streams beautiful, and I love the wildlife, but we also got to have jobs, and we also got to move forward.
Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in thanking two great leaders, Nick DeIuliis and Sean Steffi.